Hey folks, so I'm still getting a few comments from newcomers who are maybe not quite sure what happened with the Shaun Attwood situation, why it's a big deal, and why he's being questioned by people over his position at the head of the war on paedophiles, as he places himself. People are rightly coming onto my channel, seeing my videos and asking for some evidence. Now, of course, there is the evidence drop video about Anne Dragain's blog. That's the best source for evidence. That gives an excellent timeline. It's the place to go for information about this situation if you want it clarified. So please go to that blog. I will put a link in the description down below and you can check that out. But I do feel we could do a bit more for the newcomers to the situation. So I'm going to go over a few photographs that were leaked as part of the adult work profile. There are one or two more well-known ones, but there were other ones leaked at the same time, taken off the profile at the same time. They're not so much in the forefront of people's minds anymore, those photographs. So I just wanted to get them all in one place and allow people to think for themselves about whether they would consider this to be a prank, these photos to be taken as part of a prank. So please remember when looking at these images that Shaun Attwood insists that he leaked them himself as part of this so-called prank, which is an absolutely ridiculous assertion. There's no way he did that. We did give him a opportunity to tell us which email address leaked these images initially, or leaked the adult work profile initially. He insisted that he knew what the email address was and that he would provide it, and ended up claiming that he couldn't provide it after making some incorrect guesses. He then said he wasn't able to provide it because he tricked somebody into sending the link initially to Anne, which is where all these photographs came from. Very briefly, for a little bit of background, these photographs are taken by Shaun Attwood in his home, and they are photographs of one of his podcast guests that he took. This podcast guest was a victim of sexual abuse when she was a child, and she was also a victim of ongoing sex trafficking by a gang. So she was literally being used as a commodity for violent and, criminal customers. She was being passed around like a commodity, and the gang was basically forcing her to have sex with all these people. So you would be able to consider every single time she had sex with somebody as part of this sex trafficking incident would be classed as a rape. So she's been raped thousands of times, and here she is in Shaun Attwood's house getting photographed in explicit positions. They also did a GoFundMe for this girl's living expenses because she apparently had no income of her own and was desperately needing money to escape the traffickers. They wanted £10,000 from Shaun Attwood's audience. The audience donated £5,000 and the GoFundMe closed and has been cashed out at $5,300. So they've made good money. They've made pretty good profit out of this situation, while this girl was actually safe, living with Shaun Attwood and charging £1,200 a night on her sex work profile. She put a big disclaimer on her profile saying she would not accept less than this, and if you asked for less than this, you would be showing yourself as someone who is not her standard of clientele, and you should go and get a girl who's a little bit more in your price range. She also states on her adult work profile that she is not a charity. But as I say, that GoFundMe has now been cashed out at almost $5,500. Anyway, the sex work profile got leaked and the photos emerged. These photos were taken off the sex work profile. Please remember, they're taken in Shaun Attwood's home. He also insists categorically that the women's stories of being victimised are true. So if we go on that, the photos that we're about to look at are photographs that Shaun Attwood took of a victim in his home, of someone that he knew was a victim, a brain-damaged child abuse victim who is a victim of human trafficking that was ongoing at the time while he was taking these photographs, and she approached him to go on his podcast for help. I'm posting these photographs in the public interest because I believe that things like this should not be hidden away. Shaun himself, I am sure, would agree with this, as he is busy exposing sexual impropriety on his own channel as we speak. And he shouldn't be so hypocritical as to call others trolls for highlighting these issues. He's also apparently trying to serve cease and desist letters, so he's attempting to use the civil law to scare people, other YouTube creators, into not discussing this topic. Sharon Gale, another YouTube creator, I believe has received a demand served on her by officers of the court to cease and desist from discussing Shaun Attwood. Now, if that's true, that's an absolute disgrace. I don't know too much about the situation. I do know that I believe it's causing Sharon quite a bit of stress. I think Sharon's got a PayPal on the go, so you can go over to Sharon's channel if you want to donate to her PayPal, because she's got some issues at the moment, and I don't think having this served on her is helping that situation at all. And this is the damage that's caused by going and trying to intimidate people using the civil law. I don't know anything. I don't know Sharon Gale at all, but I do enjoy her channel. I've enjoyed her channel for a long time, and I do think she provides very, very good information about things. So the idea that he's serving papers on people to stop them talking about this, I think, is a disgrace. But let's start with the balcony photo now. This is the one that opened my eyes, and I believe opened the eyes of many other people. It's quite a well-known photograph. She's on Shaun Attwood's balcony. This is the woman, the supposed victim. She's on Shaun Attwood's balcony and she's bent over. She's not wearing, unfortunately, any underwear, and you can therefore see everything. You can see her entire anatomy. Obviously, it needs to be blurred out on YouTube, but it is an explicit photograph, and it's the one, when I saw this, I realised that I had seen that balcony before. I realised that this photograph was taken in Shaun Attwood's home, and that there was a lot more to this so-called prank than he had initially said. He'd initially claimed that they set up the daddy video, which we'll get into in a little bit, to set up a prank. That just about stretched credibility for me. However, I did believe it to myself. I did think, well, he's done some prank. It's weird. He's probably on the drugs. That was my own opinion. I thought he's probably on the drugs. He's done this, and it's a silly thing to do, but we can all get over it. But then I saw this balcony video, and I was like, wait a second. There was no mention of any taking naked photographs of the girl in your home. What's all this about? So that really opened my eyes there. And we've got another quite well-known photograph, which is of her lying on his couch. No, totally naked from the waist down. Absolutely explicit pose, as you can see, and she's got her hand positioned in that she's performing a sex act on herself, let's say that. The title of that video clip, because you can actually see it's a still from a video clip, I believe the title was "Fingering My Pussy While Dirty Old Man Watches." Now, apologies if that's a little bit explicit for you and you didn't want to hear that, but that was the title that they had titled that video themselves to put onto this sex working profile for this girl. The next image is one that people might not be so familiar with, and it's the same situation. She's on the sofa at Shaun Attwood's house, and she's bent over the sofa in an extremely suggestive pose. It's very graphic. She's actually clothed in this one. She's wearing underwear in this one, but it's still too graphic for YouTube, and it still needs to be blurred, even though it's far less graphic than some of the things that Shaun Attwood has been shown on his channel of late. I would still say that this is not appropriate for YouTube, and it's not something that people would actually want to see. But there we have it. She's bent over his sofa in this position. And finally, we've got another not so well known image. This one's actually taken in Shaun Attwood's bed, and this is Shaun Attwood's bed. He will be unable to prove otherwise, I believe, because it's been confirmed to me that this is his bed, and there is evidence that this is his bed. We've got the girl lying on it with her legs open. Again, she appears to be naked from the waist down. it's not appropriate for a podcast guest and victim who has approached somebody to find themselves doing these things later on. And you can also see that this is a video clip still as well. I strongly suspect and would suggest that these videos are out there somewhere, and the content, I think, will further disprove any notion at all that this was a silly prank that Shaun Attwood intended his audience to find out about. And then we've got the daddy video. This was released after all these photographs leaked. The daddy video, of course, she's dressed as a toddler. She's wearing what Shaun Attwood described as a daddy's little girl outfit, which he said she used for hunting paedophiles. He also described this as acting sexy. She's on her knees. She's going to perform a sex act on Shaun Attwood. That's the implication from the video. And it's just deeply inappropriate. The funny thing about this was that they covered the topic of adults presenting as toddlers to satisfy people's sexual urges on Shaun Attwood's podcast with Ron Swanson, episode 1 of this dark web series that they've started, which I might have some thoughts on at a later date. But during episode 1, Ron Swanson actually says that anyone who presents an adult as a toddler for sexual kicks is a degenerate, basically. And Shaun Attwood doesn't react to this at all. He doesn't give any acknowledgement. He doesn't say, absolutely, that's disgusting, of course. He doesn't give any discussion. He doesn't even discuss it in a logical, clear-headed manner about how wrong and how disturbing that kind of thing is. No acknowledgement at all, just a look of discomfort. It kind of looks like he's squirming in his chair a little bit. And I wonder if Ron was trying to get a reaction out of Shaun Attwood when he said this. So I think that hopefully should clear up some of the queries. I'll put the photographs all on the screen as well, just so you can have another look over them. And, if that doesn't wake you up to the situation being deeply inappropriate, then I don't know what will. If anyone that you know is looking for information about this, please feel free to share this video. If this video disappears for any reason, I will put it on BitChute unedited, and I will also ensure that it reappears on YouTube, because this is public interest and everything in it is fair use. I also want to make it clear as well that I've got no desire or intention to take Shaun Attwood down, as I've been accused of wanting to do. I don't want to damage his earning potential. I don't want to damage his channel. He just needs to be aware that, especially with a backstory as interesting as his own, and with current events surrounding him, he is, as a public figure, absolutely subject to the same criticism and scrutiny that he directs to other public figures. He intensely scrutinises others in the public eye. He gives them nicknames such as Dirty Dershowitz, and I'm not defending him at all. I just want to make people aware that Shaun Attwood is more than happy to throw mud when he thinks he can get away with it, which makes the serving papers on people all the more hypocritical. But basically, I just want him to come clean, and I think he maybe needs some. If he's got substance misuse issues, he probably needs to get some help with those and address those. He may not, of course, that's just my own assumption. And I just want him to move well away from covering the topics of sexual abuse and victims rights, because it's impossible now to take him seriously and believe that he's doing it for the right reasons. It's just now weird watching him. People are only watching him now to see how he reacts in certain situations. With regards to my interest in this case, I simply saw a cover-up unfolding, like many others, and if you can see a cover-up unfolding and you can do something to stick a spanner in the works slightly, then I think you should go for it. I don't believe Shaun Attwood's in this for the right reasons. I don't think he should be covering things that he's totally desensitised to, as he claims to be. And that's my own position in this. So that's everything just now, folks. I just thought I'd put this video out there so we've got everything in one place. Like I say, definitely check out Anne's blog. I'm going to put a link down below for that. Subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of thing. You can also like the video, of course, and if you want to go into the comments and discuss, I'm sure there'll be a big discussion about what I've covered today. So thanks again for listening, folks, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.